My name is Michael Anderson, and on the 23rd of November 2010, I was an innocent victim during the student protests. The day started out like any other. I was aware that the students had been protesting over the proposed rise in education fees, but I had no idea that it had escalated so quickly. I just left the office after a long meeting. On the way home, I turned around a corner to find two protesters vandalizing a wall. As any normal person would, I ran towards them and yelled at them to stop. They immediately got up and sprinted right past me. I honestly couldn't believe what was going on at the time. I was in shock. Luckily, no real damage was done, but it was saddening to see what the teenagers of today resort to. Graffiti is nothing more than mindless vandalism. People call it art, others say it's a means of expression. What I saw that day just made another London street uglier. It doesn't matter what the reason was. The type of behaviour that I witnessed was completely unacceptable. I was one of the luckier victims during the protests, as there were far worse cases. Shops were raided, cars were smashed, police officers and rioters were hospitalised. It is shocking to think that these type of actions can still happen in modern-day London. There's no place in the world for rioting, and I wish I could hear how the protesters might defend their actions.
My name is Joe Hodkinson, and I actively took part during the student protests in 2010. The majority of the British public condemned the student protests as a reason to riot for the sake of it, rather than fighting for a real cause. This couldn't be any further from the truth, because what I did with the intention to make a stand for something that I believed in. Ever since I heard about the Brown Review, my opinions have not changed on the matter.
I'm Tom Ayton, and I too was involved in the student protests of 2010. I'm not a violent person, and even some of my friends said that I acted out of character. But I really felt like we students had no alternative option.
As soon as I'd heard about the proposed rise in student fees, I was shocked. My family has always believed in politics, and as a Liberal Democrat, we all felt lied to by Nick Clegg. He said he would oppose any legislation involving raising the student fees. And as soon as he entered the coalition government with the Conservatives, he completely changed his decision.
I'm not from a wealthy background. In 2005, we struggled hard enough as it was to put my brother through university. The fees were only at £3,000 per year, and now it was going to be 3 times worse, with them capped at £9,000. I didn't want to be the reason my parents would have to suffer even more financially. It was a huge disgrace to rise the fees, as it made such a huge impact on so many students.
I first began protesting peacefully, taking part in Demolition 10-11-10. We began marching and picketing through Westminster and Parliament, and we gained a lot of press and raised awareness. 50,000 students came out to fight to keep the fees capped at £3,000. That figure itself speaks volumes on how much this meant to students everywhere.
I was there when we occupied 30 Millbank. Everything escalated so quickly. But this was because we felt that our voices were not being heard. Drastic times called for drastic measures. If we let them change the fees without us trying our hardest to try and fight back, they would show that we didn't care in the first place. The public take a natural, law-ethical view on rioting. No matter the consequence or reason behind an action, it will always be deemed wrong. We took a more teleological stand, where the ends justify the means. We had a good cause to fight for, and we were determined to fight for it any means necessary.
In one sense, I am proud of what we did during the protests. Thousands upon thousands of students came out, all from the United Kingdom, and stood side by side as we fought for an injustice we felt was unfair on us all. It was not just one group of protesters. We were a united front made up of all genders, ages and races. The Human Rights Act protects freedom of expression and freedom of assembly, and that forms the basis of your right to gather with others and protest. I acknowledge that the violence we resorted to was wrong, but we never intended it to resort to that. We hoped the peaceful protest would work, but we saw no other way. I speak on the behalf of all the protesters in saying I apologise to those that were affected, but I am not sorry for protesting. As human beings, we all have the ability to protest. The only difference being that everybody's reason for doing it is different. For me, it was the rise in fees. For others, it could be down to the feeling of not being paid enough. Don't condemn us before you understand why we did it. Just ask yourself, what would have to happen for you to take to the streets and protest? See, then Just then, you might start to understand us.